Thank you guys. Yeah, y'all can just leave that. We don't have to repeat that. It's all right. We always go back and forth with like whether to allow the drinks in here because there's probably more spills than we're commonly used to, but I guess that's okay. What's up, y'all? My name's Coleton. I'm the student pastor here. I was out last week because I was away at a cohort with my wife, and but thankfully we have people in our ministry like Emma Stover who can teach really well, so that's really good. It really has been a gift to watch that and just have that in my back pocket all the time, and now she's going away, and so I'm not bitter, but whatever. No, it was good. I got to watch it online, so grateful for that. But again, if you're new here, my name's Coleton, so yeah, just really grateful that you guys are here. We're in a series right now called Practice the Way of Jesus, and what we've been looking at over the last, since January, is just this idea of like what it looks like to actually follow Jesus. A lot of people call themselves Christians, and I think that's wonderful. It's just that to practice, like Jesus called us to be disciples, not just by name only. He didn't call us to like pray a prayer one time and do this thing once. He called us to make disciples, which is a very different thing. A disciple is a student, an apprentice, someone who follows the teacher. And so to call yourself a disciple but not actually to follow the teacher is oxymoronic. It doesn't really work that way because it doesn't fit. You're not actually doing the thing. No one would call you a disciple if you're not following. And so we want to be people who actually practice Jesus' words. And we're not legalistic about it or anything. It's not like, hey, you need to do this, otherwise, you're out. It's not that. It's like, man, Jesus has baked into following him. If you practice these things and put his words into practice, you experience something that other people just miss out on. And I think if you look around in your schools and other churches, around the South in particular, if you look around, you see a lot of people, and maybe even you in this room, just kind of like, man, I believe this stuff, but I basically think Christianity is basically one big rerun movie every year. Like, he died again, he rose again, and you have to watch the same. Like, when are y'all going to do a sequel? Like, there's no sequel. And so every April, we're just crushing that rerun and watching it again and again and again. And Christians are just bored with the fact that someone raised from the dead, which actually, if we all went to a cemetery right now and saw somebody get out of a grave, we'd be like, what is happening? Like, it would freak us out. We would not be bored in that moment. We might be terrified and be like, zombie apocalypse, I called it, 2022. Like, you might be terrified, but you would not be bored. And yet, somehow, man, we've grown bored with this man who death couldn't hold down. And I think in many ways because, man, we've started calling ourselves Christians, but we're not actually practicing following Jesus. And so there's a lot of gifts and a lot of things that are available for those who actually practice following the way of Jesus, this actual person. And so we've been talking about that for a couple of weeks. So today we're going to talk about it again and talk about the practice of sacrifice or taking up your cross using Jesus' words. But this idea, and we'll explain it in just a second, but to take up your cross and follow Jesus is what he calls us to. And so I want to just jump in right here and read it, but it's from Matthew 16. This is Jesus' words. He's about to rebuke Peter, and then he says this thing about taking up our cross and sacrificing. So starting in verse 21, Matthew 16, it says, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and on the third day be raised to life. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Lord, he said, this shall never happen to you. And Jesus turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. Then Jesus said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my student must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? This is the word of the Lord. My iPad is freaking out, so we're just gonna see what happens here. So if someone can just take that on as a prayer request. But it was freaking out there for a second. I was trying to follow the text. But anyways, that's why I was like, y'all were like, ready? I was going, okay, hold on. All right. Sorry about that. That's the word of the Lord. About 2 months ago, I bought my son, my 6-year-old son, I bought him the game Trouble. It's a board game. I don't know if y'all have ever played it. We were playing Sorry, and I am apparently really bad at Sorry. But Trouble I can crush. I'm really good at it. Been good at it since I was a kid. And it has that little thing in the middle, like you push it, and the dice like, and then it bounces and the stuff, and you do the whole thing, and you're trying to make your way around the board. So I bought it, and I was like, this will be fun for him and me. We connect on video games and stuff like that, but I wanted to connect on something that's not a screen. And so I bought this game for him, took it home, so excited, and he loves like hitting anything, so hitting that little dice thing and it jumping up and stuff, it was a lot of fun. And so we started playing, which was such a gift. And the first time we're playing, I realized about midway through, like, I am trying to crush him. Like, I'm 35, he's 6, and I was trying to destroy him in this game. And it was like I came out of this competitive fog when I started looking at, I'm like, why are there tears in his eyes? Because I'm destroying him. He is terrible. I'm strategizing, y'all. I'm like hitting certain sides of the dice thing, and he's like doing, and I'm like, oh, loser. You know, I'm just beating the mess out of him. I'm just crushing him. And so I realized in that moment, like, I could win. I could win this game. I could win by a lot, like a landslide lot. I could win by a lot. And if I won, I would lose the whole point of why I bought this game. Like, I would destroy his spirit, his view of this game, maybe his view of his father. Like, I would destroy a lot of things in the process of me crushing him at Trouble. And I could have won. And I realized, I was like, or I could lose this game, and I could actually win the things and gain the things that I've wanted all along. I bought this game so that we could connect. I bought this game so that we could hang out. I bought this game so that as we're playing, he could share with me about his day and stuff like that. And I just had that moment of like, man, I just kind of got lost. I forgot why I was doing this. And I was trying to crush his spirit and his life, and going like, you're terrible at this game, but I'm amazing. And so I just decided, I was like, man, I'm going to lose. And so I stopped strategizing, which was dumb in the first place. And I let him like knock my guys out and all this different stuff. And then he ended up getting more excited and more excited and more excited. And then he won the game. And it was like this amazing thing where he ran and told his mom and stuff like that. And we didn't tell her about the fact that I was trying to crush him early on. We skipped over that. But he was so excited. And now we play. I mean, basically, it sits on our dining room table. And we wake up and play in the morning before he has to go off and go to school, and we talk about his day and stuff like that. And we play this game while I'm making him breakfast and stuff. And we have a really great time. And so the point was like, man, there was just this moment where I was like, I could have won, and I would have lost everything that I actually cared about. Or I could lose, and I could win and gain everything I actually care about. And the reason I say that is because that's exactly what Jesus is going after here. That is what he's talking about when it comes to taking up your cross and following him. He's like, look, man, there's a way of life where you could go about like receiving and getting and gaining everything this world has to offer. There's a way in your life where you could make enough money, where you could work hard enough to where you could actually have everything that you want. Like you can just lower your head and just do that. There's a way where you could gain the whole world. You're savvy people, you can figure it out. You know what you want, you can do it. Type A's can definitely do that. There's a way of life where you could gain everything and wind up going, but I'm still missing something more substantial. How do I have everything and I still miss something? How is it possible that I have everything that money can buy, I have everything I could possibly dream of, I can make any decision I want to, and yet I'm still at the end of it going, but there's something, I'm still missing something. And this is what he's referencing, and this is what he's talking about. And so to that end, to that space, he talks about sacrifice of taking up the cross. And so a definition of what that looks like is here is taking up your cross is choosing to lose in the eyes of the world so that you can gain the life that Jesus actually has to offer. It's choosing to follow Jesus even when it doesn't make sense, or even when it goes against our culture or the people around us, or even when it goes against like what you believe. Jesus is saying, like, look, there's just a way of life that's possible for you to climb the ladder and get everything that you want. I got all the stuff, and I have it all. I got everything. And still wind up in a space going, but I'm still missing something. This is why the rich young ruler actually comes to Jesus. He comes to him because if you remember the story in Matthew 19, he's like, he's rich, he's young, and he's a ruler. That's what we know. So he's got a lot of money. He's young, so the ladies, they're not too bad on him. And then he's got power. He's a ruler. He's got like money, sex, and power. He has all of those things to a degree that's beyond any of us in here. He's killing it. And yet his question is to Jesus. He runs to Jesus and says, how do I get more abundant life. What am I lacking? Jesus didn't point to him and say, you're lacking something. He comes and he's like, I got everything, but there's something missing. How is it possible that I have everything, but there's something missing? This is why celebrities end up killing themselves or taking so much drugs and overdosing, is because all of a sudden they've gained the whole world. They've gained all of the popularity they can possibly imagine, all the followers and all the love that they could possibly get. They've also gained all the money that they could buy anything and everything that they want to buy, but they wind up in this space where it's like, how is it that I'm still missing something? How is it that there's something still lacking in my life? And it's this tragic place to be where you realize I have everything I could possibly want, everything I could possibly chase down, and yet there's still something I'm missing, and I can't buy it, and no one can get, I just don't know how to even go about getting it. And so Jesus is saying there's something to that. There's a reason I'm calling my followers, if you're following me, to actually practice this, because there's something about that I don't want you to walk into. Finding and gaining everything, but losing your actual life. Losing the actual point and meaning of life, and not experiencing the fullness that's available to you. And so this is what he talks about, and I just want to give you two reasons why he calls us to sacrifice and calls us to take up our cross. The first one, as talked about a little bit, is that we can have everything but still be missing something. Everything but still be missing something. Again, rich young ruler, the celebrities in our day. And the truth is, the reason why this is so difficult for us is like we can't fill our own hearts. Like we're really bad at it. And if you think about your life, like you're really good at filling a lot of things. Like you can fill your lungs with air, you can fill your stomach with, food and all these different things. You can do all that. You can fill your closet with a lot of clothes and shoes. You can fill your social media with a lot of people who claim to like you or know you or like your stuff. A lot of followers, a lot of likes. You can fill your driveway with nice cars. One day you can do that. Some of you have done that already. You can fill your calendar with dates. You can fill your phone with girls' phone numbers or guys' phone numbers, whatever. You can fill your snaps up. There's so many different things that you can actually fill. The issue is that none of that actually goes to your heart. Like you can actually fill organs in your life. You can fill your lungs. You can fill your stomach. But the organ of your heart, you can wear your clothes, but you can't shove them into your heart. Go to the store and buy as much of it as you want. Fill your closet till it's coming out of the brim. But there's no way that stuff can actually get in there. We just can't fill our hearts. There's just nothing that we can do to do that. It's outside of us. Somebody else has to do it. And that's what Jesus is referencing here. He's like, there's just something else that you need that you can't go and purchase. And so gain the whole world. Get all the popularity you want. Get all of this, the reputation that you've longed for, and all these people to like you. Get all of it. And the issue is it will still not satisfy, and it will never fill this because you can't do that. Fill everything that you want to, but you cannot fill your heart up. It's just impossible. Jesus has to do that. And so he doesn't want us winding up and walking into this space where he's like, look, I found myself like the rich young ruler, I have everything, and I feel like I have nothing. I did this when I was a senior in high school. I had just started following Jesus. But I loved baseball, and I just had this vision of what my life would be like. I'm like, okay, I got God in it now, and I'm not doing what I used to do, and I'm also doing baseball, and I got this girlfriend that I really was very proud of, and all the rest of it. She was very pretty and the whole thing. And I just remember it was senior, I've shared this story before, but senior year, senior night baseball, and I hit a grand slam, walk-off grand slam to end the game. The newspapers are asking me for interviews afterwards. A kid runs and grabs the ball, brings it to me. He's like, can you sign this? And I'm like, yeah, I can. So I'm signing the baseball. I'm like, I have arrived at this thing. And it was this huge celebration of my teammates. My girlfriend was there and all this stuff. I'm getting pictures taken for the newspaper and all the rest of it and all this stuff. And then like this moment that I thought, like, this is it. This is everything I've ever wanted, was like all of this stuff happening at one time. It lasted for 30 minutes, and I remember sitting in my truck with my girlfriend sitting next to me, and she's wondering why I'm weeping and considering killing myself, because I was like, I thought this would be everything. I thought this would finally be this space where it's like, finally I made something in my life that was mine, and I did it, and it's good. I had everything I've ever dreamed of, which was actually a really, really small dream. Everything I'd ever dreamed of, and man, it lasted for 30 minutes, and I was just miserable after that. And it's a really challenging space to be like, I can't purchase everything that I actually long for and everything I actually need. I can't ever get to that space where I have those things. And so Jesus is saying, look, you can't fill your heart. I can do that. I'd like to do that. But the way to actually move towards that is to not try and find it yourself, but actually to deny yourself and to sacrifice and to take up your cross and follow me. There's a reason with the rich young ruler where the rich young ruler asked, how do I get eternal life? And Jesus says, you need to sell all the stuff you have, all the money, give it away. Get rid of all the things that are keeping me between you, like all this stuff, get rid of all that, and then come and follow me. His point is, I am the life that you're looking for. Following me is the life that you're actually longing for. You can't have it. This stuff right here is keeping you from me. Get rid of that and then come follow me. I am abundant life. Come and follow me. And so that's what he's calling us into, to deny everything that we think makes sense and go like, I think money will do it. I think girls will do it. I think partying will do it. I think drink, all that. No. Denying those things and choosing to bear your cross and follow him. So that's the first one. Second one is Jesus calls us to sacrifice because whatever you sacrifice or whatever you put to death for Jesus will lead to life. Whatever you sacrifice or put to death for Jesus will lead to life. C.S. Lewis has this great quote. It's a little long, but he talks about this happening in real life, that sacrificing something ultimately leads to more life. He says the same principle holds for everyday matters. He says, even in social life, you will never make a good impression on other people until you put to death thinking what sort of impression you're making. He says, even in literature and art, no one who bothers about originality will ever actually be original. Whereas if you simply try to tell the truth and put to death carrying 2 pence, how often that story has been told, you will 9 times out of 10 become original without ever having noticed. The principle runs through all of life from top to bottom. Give up yourself and you will find your real self. Lose your life and you will save it. Submit to death of your ambitions, your favorite wishes every day, and the death of your whole body in the end. Submit with every fiber of your being and you will find eternal life. Keep back nothing. And then this one, he says, only things that have died can be raised to life. Which actually makes a lot of sense. Like we would understand that. Like, how does someone get resurrected? Well, a resurrection only happens if there's death at play. And Jesus has opened this door to resurrection life for us, where he's like, you don't have to be afraid to put something to death. Because if you put it to death, that just means that now it's dead and now I can raise it to life where you experience more life. And so when he's calling us to like, hey, there's things in your life I want you to kill. I want you to die to it. I want it to go away. I want these things to be out of your life and to be dead. It's so that he can ultimately lead you from a place of death into a place of life. That's what he's asking us to do. And so whatever you sacrifice or whatever you put to death for Jesus' sake will ultimately lead us to more life. This is why Jesus gets so mad at Peter, because he doesn't understand. Like Peter, you can't really get mad. I understand where Peter's coming from, but Jesus is really mad at him. But his best friend just said, hey, I'm going to go die. Like, I don't know. I mean, if you have a best bro, what are you supposed to say? Like, yeah, you're probably going to die because I ain't going to do anything about it. Like, that's not what you would say. And so Peter's trying to be a good bro. Like, nah, man, I'll never let that happen. And Jesus is like, shut up. Like, oh. It's actually worse than that. Get behind me, Satan. It's like, wow, my name's Peter. But he gets so mad because it's like, if you think about what he's saying, Jesus is saying like, hey, I'm gonna go sacrifice my life. And once that's done, because I've sacrificed my life, life will be given to anybody who believes in me. Life will be available. I will die so that many can live. And so for Peter to say like, nah, we're not going to do that, Jesus is like, you don't understand anything. Like, it makes sense to you for me not to die, but if I don't sacrifice my life, no one will ever actually be able to experience eternal life. I must sacrifice. I must die so that many can live. And so Peter just doesn't understand, but it makes sense that Jesus is like, when someone sacrifices their life, when this will take place, much life will be given. And so that's why he's so angry at Peter. But when we put something to death, Jesus ultimately gives life out of it. Again, I've heard my story a little bit, but when I was 17, I remember standing in my backyard, and I had just a party the night before at my house, and I was hungover, standing in my backyard, with all these different thoughts running through my head, because I had spent the last 3 years trying to make my life great. Like, I will gain the whole world. I didn't say those words, but it was basically that thing. Like, I will deny myself nothing. I will make sure that if anybody presents me with any opportunity, I will absolutely take it. I ran from the cops during that time. I broke into houses during that time. I destroyed property during that time. I did basically anything other than drugs, because I didn't do drugs because my dad said you'd be bad at baseball. And I idolized baseball, so I was like, I can't do drugs then. But anything else was like, whatever it takes, I will deny myself nothing. I will gain the world, and my life will be great. And I found myself that next day gaining the world. I had everything I'd ever dreamed of. I had a party at my house. Everybody was there. Girls were there, tons of them. And I mean, just anything that I could possibly want. And I was miserable. And in that moment, like I remember turning my life and doing whatever I could do with Jesus. And I was like, I don't know how to do this apparently. I'm terrible at making my life great. I'm going to give it to you for 6 months. That's all you get. You got 6 months to show me you can do it better than me, God of the universe. Let's see how you roll with it. And that was 18 years ago. He actually does pretty good. He does all right. But it was this moment of I'm going to give you, I'm going to turn away from all of this stuff. I'm going to put it to death. All the drinking, all the partying, all the stuff. I'm going to turn away from some of my friends, and I'm going to turn away from my girlfriend, not the girlfriend, but the girl I was with at that time. I was going to turn away from all of that stuff. And in many ways, it felt like death. It felt like, it wasn't like, this is going to be great. I'm going to lose friends, and I did. My reputation is going to be smattered and on the ground, and it was. I'm no longer going to be invited to things, and I wasn't. Because I was like, I'm now the Jesus guy. I was invited to drive people who were drunk. That was what I was invited to do, but not really to attend the party. I was called after the fact. This is going to feel like death. I'm going to lose something here. But I still chose it. I chose it moving forward. I was like, but whatever he has to be better than what I was able to do on my own. And so in pushing forward in that and going maybe you'll give me something better than I can do. And so putting that to death, I experienced life. And from that moment, he ultimately called me to Tennessee where I got to meet my wife. And then the rest is history. Chicago, Wisconsin, New York. I've traveled the world preaching the gospel and doing all this stuff. It's the adventure and everything I was looking for was actually it was there all along. It was just in Jesus, and it wasn't in something I could create for myself. And I also haven't run from the cops since then, so that's been a lot of fun. My point is man, when you sacrifice something and put it to death, he's not calling you to experience death. He's actually saying, you put it to death. I will lead you to life. This is what I'm calling you to. And I think the same is true for us. He wants to save us from getting to the space where it's I got everything, and yet I feel like I have nothing. And he's saying, I want you to experience actual life. The only way to do that is to put to death these other things that you know are against. I know that all your friends are doing it, and I'm telling you to go against popular culture and what's popular. I know it's going to cost you something. I know it will feel like death to put these things to death. But I promise you, I'm actually calling you to live into life. And so for you guys, I heard this story recently about these Christian knights, knights with a K in. So during the year 1000, 1100, whatever. And it was during the Crusades, so not a shining spot in Christianity. But the knights, before they were going to go into battle, they would be baptized. Y'all know what baptism is, where you're plunged into the water. They would be baptized, but the knights would all put on their armor. They put everything on. And then the priest or whoever would take them and set them in the water with all of their stuff on. And it was and then they'd baptize them into the water. And the idea was we're going into a holy war. We're submitting, we're surrendering our lives to God and all that stuff. But right as they dunked them in, the knights would have their sword, and their sword would be sticking out of the water up. They didn't want their swords to go in the water. And it was this way of saying, God, I'm going to give you my whole life, but I'm going to need my sword. This is something, I don't want to give you my sword because I don't know what you'll do with it. I don't know, I'm going to need this for me. This one's mine. Please protect my heart, my head, my legs, my arms, whatever, but don't worry about my sword. I'll take my sword. I'll make sure. Let me keep that out of the water because I don't want this to touch holy things. And they did it for a number of reasons. One, they knew what they were doing was wrong and they shouldn't be doing this. And so they're really sorry about this, but if the rest of my body, if you could take care of that, that'd be all right. And then on the other side, it was man, I just don't trust you with my sword. If I give you my sword, what if you let me get killed by the sword? If you don't let me use it the way I want to? What if I can't trust you with this and I die because I gave you my sword too? What if I go to kill somebody and then all of a sudden it doesn't work because you're against killing our enemies? I'm supposed to love them. What if you aren't trustworthy? I don't think I can trust you with my sword. And so baptized all the way, just one arm out and the sword there. When I heard that story, I was man, I just feel like that describes so many of our lives. God, I'm in baptism, you can have everything, but there's something. If we could stick our arm out, it wouldn't be a physical sword, but it'd be something. It's like there's something there that's like, you can have all of me, God, just not my relationship. Like my relationship with that guy, my relationship with that girl, like the stuff that we do, you can have everything else, not this. Like you can have, God, I want you to take it all, but not my friendships. Like I need those friendships. And I know, like I'm holding it out. It's not like the best thing for me, but like for my popularity and for like my life in high school and middle school, like I need these friendships. You can have everything, just not this. You can have everything but my forgiveness. I'm not going to forgive that person. That's crazy. I'm never going to do that. You can have anything that you want. You just can't have any of these things. I will do anything you want at church, whatever you need, baptize every part of it. But my life in school and who I am there and the people I'm like, you can't have any of that. You can have all that I am, but not my drinking, not my partying, not all, like anything you want, God, just don't touch that thing. I think when we think of that story, it's like, that's kind of ridiculous to hold your sword out. Like this, just use it or don't, man. Why are you being baptized in your armor anyways? But I think there's so much to that we're the exact same way. Lord, you can have all of me, just not my special sin. This sin is mine. It's not hurting anybody. I do it in private. No one even really knows about it. This one, this is mine. This is between me and her. Her parents say it's fine, whatever. Like, this is just us. And so you can have all of me, just not this. I think that's where we wind up. And I think in those moments when we're going, God, I can't give you this because if I do, it's going to feel like I'm dying. He's going, that's exactly the thing that I want. That's what I want. Because the thing that you think, if you give that to me, you might die, that's the thing that's actually stealing your joy, killing your joy. That's the thing that's actually taking life from you, not giving it to you. We're keeping it from God and keeping it to ourselves because we think it will do something for us, and it's doing the exact opposite. It's doing something against us. It's harming us. And so when Jesus is like, I want you to deny yourself, take up your cross, take that thing to death so that you can actually experience real life that I have for you. He's inviting you in that time to sacrifice that thing. Follow me even though it does look hard. Because I promise what I have for you is better than what you're able to create on your own. And many of y'all know that. You know it right now. You know it's not going great. How you've been trying to crush your life and do these things. You know it's not going great. And there's just a moment of we're just clarity where you're I just need y'all to just click and wake up and go, oh yeah, I'm still doing the same things and nothing's changing. This isn't going well. I need to sacrifice that thing and put it to death so I can experience something new. I think so often he's calling to us and saying, the thing that you're holding out of the water, give that to me. That's what I want. Can you trust me with that? I promise that if you give it to me, I'll actually allow you to experience life from that thing, and you're currently experiencing death from it. And so my question to you is, where are you at in this? Have you gained the whole world and found it's but I'm still lacking something? Are you scared to actually put some things to death because you're man, I just don't know. We sing songs that he's faithful. We sing songs that he's going to protect. We sing all these different things, but I don't know that I can trust him with this. I make my own future. I make my own high school great. I make my own. It's how's that going? It's probably not going great. I know many of your stories. It's not going well. And my point is man, he's just going, I don't want to shame you about it. I just want you to let me kill it so that we can ultimately experience life from it. What are you holding out of the water? What are you not surrendering to Jesus? We're going to sing a song. And just in the midst of that, I would just encourage you just to consider that idea. If you are being baptized and you're surrendering, this is a moment to I'm surrendering my life to death so that I can be raised to new life and experience the life that Jesus has for me. What is the thing that you're but not this? I'm holding this out of the water, not this one. And I just encourage you. Maybe it's your whole life. Maybe you're man, I just don't know, God. I don't know about you. I don't know what you're going to do with my life. During this time, and I would just encourage you, just consider bringing that to him, actually sacrificing that to him. If you want to actually come up here and do that, you're welcome to come up to the altar and actually do that. The song is Come to the Altar, I think. Oh, never mind. It's not that song. But you can still come to the altar. And be bold about it. sacrifice and put something to death so that you can experience real life. Father, would you help us? Would you move among us? And Lord, for the things that are just killing us, killing our joy, not giving us real life, God, I pray that you would please place it on our hearts and allow us to bring that thing to you so that we can experience real life. Losing that thing, putting it to death so that we can experience real life. Would you do that for us? Would we trust you enough to just give that thing to you and finally be honest with ourselves that it's not working. It's not helping. These things I've been chasing down, these things I've been pursuing, it's just not working. God, I pray that we would set those things aside, that we would actually crucify those things so that we could actually have life that you give us versus life that we're trying to give ourselves. In Jesus' name.
All to Jesus